Hi, this is Joe Bolen, and today we're going to do a little something different. I'm going to show you a check writing demo program that I wrote that gives you a chance to see what a program with all the different pieces and parts together look like, and to take advantage of understanding some of the things we've learned up to this point in time, learning how to bring together all the different concepts of modules, declaring variables, declaring string arrays. We'll take a look at that as we look at this program, and then I'd like you to go out to payespin.com and take a look at the code and understand the code that I showed you in this video. So let's take a look at the program to get started with. This is a check writing demo program, and you see that I have in Visual Studio the screen designer or Windows designer of a check. Now, the concept was simple. I just took a check that I have and used it as a model to create a program version of a check. Here we see the name area. It's only labels. Then I have the check number that's part of the pre-printed part of the check. Then the date of the check, and sometimes you can predate the check to a date outside the current date on that, so I allowed that to be changed. And then the line for whom you're writing the check out to, and then the amount of the check. And then the next line is a line that's created by a particular module that I've implemented with a function that'll create the written word of the amount that I key in the amount box. Then we have some labels representing the bank that's on your check, and this is just a dummy address. And then we have sometimes a memo or what the check is for, and we can key that in if we would like. And then down at the bottom are the bank's routing numbers, and then your account number, and then the check number, which corresponds to the check number up above. Now, in reality, these three different sets of numbers are a magnetic ink recognition code type of number that is pre-printed on checks. So this would not be valid in terms of creating a program, but gives you an idea what the check would look like. And so this program becomes a way for us to understand how a check might be processed, how we might create a program that would be maybe for accounts payable, where we'd have a database of the different payees that we might have, and also keep a running track of the balances on that as we write checks. You also see down in the component tray I have a print form, which is from the Power Packs for Visual Basic, and the air provider has been added in so that we can validate some of our fields. For example, we want to make certain that all the fields are filled in and are required except for the memo field. We also want to make certain that the amount that we put in is a numeric amount that is correct for this particular field. So we'll do some validation in this program as well. Then we'll have the clear button, which will clear out the fields once we're done. And the print button will take advantage of the Power Packs print form component to give us a printed form of the check, and we'll remove during the process of that printed form the buttons and raise up the border of our client area of the check so it doesn't show the bottom part of this check, and we'll see it for printing. So let me run this program so you can get an idea what this is like. Okay, so I've got the check running, and I brought in a default check number that I can change if I'd like. And I'm going to put in the payee, and I'm just going to type in lowercase Susan B. Anthony, which is a person who led the suffrage. And notice I typed it in lowercase, and as I left, it turned it into a text case where I had the first letter of each part of the word in uppercase. Now let's say I'm going to give a contribution of $125. And as I tab out, you'll see that the line will fill in on that. And I'll put in a memo line here of suffrage pack contribution, and then I have everything filled in correctly. And at this point I can hit the print button, and we'll see as I do this that the check is filled out. I've taken away the buttons, and we see the check there for printing. So we can then go ahead at this point and print the check if we'd like on that, or just close it out after we've taken a look at what it looks like. Now let's say I made a mistake in the amount. Let's put in some numbers or words here, and we'll see the error provider kicks in. It reminds us the value must be numeric on that. So I key in, let's say I'm really generous. I'm going to key in 10 million. And as I tab out, that'll validate. I'll also put the comma in, and I'll update my field to 10,000 of the amount, not 10 million, I'm sorry. So we can change things on that. Also, if I change the check number, maybe I want to check it to check number 1250. For some reason, I'm out of sequence. You'll see that down here that the check number will also update as I just did that. And we have the date time picker, of course, to pick things, and I can go out 1 year in time if I'd like. Today happens to be the 22nd of October in the year 2014. So we can also then hit the clear button, which will clear things out for the next time we want to do a check, and it will increment the check number that I might be using. So this gives you an idea of the actual program running to do a check. Now let's take a look at the code behind this check. Okay, I have our form here. Once again, to remind you, I'm using the PowerPack print form component, and also the error provider has been pulled in to do some validation. Now let's take a look at the code itself. Okay, now what I'd like to bring to your attention first of all is at lines 21 through 23 are the locations for the information about this program and how it's done. The image will be out there if you'd like to take a look at the image again on this link from Imgur, and also Pastebin has all the code for this that you can see if you want to study the code further to understand how things were done. Okay, let's take a look at the particular one I want to bring your attention to, which is the check form part. And this part here in the top level is I have declared some constants. Normally this would not be done. This would be coming in from a database, but this is a demo program. So I declared the constants for the payer, the routing numbers, and the bank that we're using. Then I gave a starting value for the check number at 1145, but we can override that and use any number we'd like. Now as the program begins, we load in with the load event, and one of the things I've set is that the auto validate property for the form has been changed to enable allow focus change, which means that if we do have an error on a field, I can keep tabbing through the field without being stuck with my cursor in that particular text box. Then also I want to turn off the blinking of the error provider icon so it doesn't distract the viewer. It'll just show up on that. Then we're going to initialize in this the fields that are part of our check and bring all that into play. And you'll notice I've used the toString with the G format identifier to make that just a plain looking number with no commas in the check number field. Then I've also taken the date time picker and set it so that the minimum date is today. In other words, I can't write a check in the past. I'm writing it for today, and I'm allowing this check to be possibly written out 12 months into the future on that. And then I'm going to set the value of the initial date of that check to be today's date. Then I'm going to put the focus of the cursor into the payee text box as we begin the program. Now also in the form closing event, I have a simple eCancel equals false. So if we do have an error with any of the fields that we're checking, the eCancel equals false allows us to exit the program. Now let's take a look at some of the methods in here, and we'll see as we go down through the line, anytime I change the check number in the box, I use the text change event, and what I'm basically doing is taking that check number in the check number text box, and I'm writing it to the part at the bottom of the check where the magnetic ink recognition characters are located. Then also, as we do validation, we have the validating events. And here, the first thing we want to do is set the message that might be for that particular text box. We want to clear it out with a string empty. Then we go through and do the different validation functions that I have coded here. Is required, is numeric, and also I'm going to have a range of 1 to 9,999 for the check numbers. Now we could change this if we needed to. Also, I want to make certain that if it's keyed in, the check number is validated to an integer, and we put that once again back into the format using the G identifier or string identifier. If we have any errors during this process, we're going to jump down to our error catching routine through this try catch block, and we're going to then bring that message to screen, and we're going to set the cancel to true. We also have this for the Payee Line, and you'll see something unique that I haven't introduced at this point. As we come into the Payee Line, and I do have a is required field. We've got to have somebody we're writing it out to. Then I'm going to take whatever's on that line, and I'm going to use our method here to actually turn it to title case. So if I enter everything in lowercase, I'll get title case for my line. And once again, if I have an error in the requirement, it's not there, then I'm going to do the catch, and we'll see that happen. Then we're going to also take a look at the amount, and one of the things you'll see here in the amount, besides clearing the error provider, is I first of all strip out the commas that might be entered in by the user, so that if the user happens to enter in 1,000 with a comma after the 1, we'll strip that out so it will allow it to be processed correctly. We're going to check to make certain it's required, that it is numeric, and that we're not going to cut any checks any bigger than 999 million. Well, that's probably too large, but at least that keeps us in a range checking for the validation of our check. Probably we want to keep that down to maybe under a $25,000 check. Of course, my bank account would probably keep it down more in the lower range than that. Now let's take a look at the written line of the check amount. And as we process the check amount, I'm once again going to strip out the comma on that, and then I'm going to convert it to double to process it. So at this point, I've got it into making certain that it's a double data amount. Then I'm going to run out and do my function that I've written, check amount in words. And now we return back that amount as a English written amount, and then also I want to make certain that the amount is reintroduces the commas back into the text box for the amount box. Clearing is very simple. We're going to clear the error message. We're going to increment the check number on that, and then we're going to also reset some of our values and get them back to our initial state. Now, one of the nice things is the PowerPack's print form. Very easy to put in, and what I've decided to do is put in for the print button. This is where I'm going to check, make certain everything is validated, and if it did not get validated, we'll hear a sound through the speaker and we'll exit the sub, and we won't be able to print the check. Then I'm going to play a little game here. I'm going to actually shrink the height of the check down so that I get rid of the lower part of the form. Then also I'm going to make invisible the print button, clear button, and then the actual printing of the check to screen is on these two lines, 181 and 182, where we do it to preview, and I'm choosing only the client area to show up. Then after it gets done printing, or I cancel out, it'll come back, reset the buttons, bring the client size back to its original value on that. So this is a very simple section of only 191 lines, including all the header documentation at the very top. Let's take a look at the validator part, where I actually go out and check for is required. So we'll take a look at validator, and here you'll see this one is if it's numeric, I'm passing a value coming out as string, making certain it is numeric. If not, I'm going to do what's called a throwing an exception back to the GUI interface level on that. So I'm keeping my logic of what we call the business logic in a separate module. I also do this for making certain that there is something in the field, and I'm checking to see if somebody's just had blank spaces or null in that field, and if so, I'm saying it has to be required. I'm throwing that message back as well. And then I have my validation of the range to check to make certain everything's within the right range. Otherwise, I'm sending back the information about what the range should be to the user so they can correct their information. And this is a nice way to have a situation where you have a module for all your validation rules set up separately. And what's nice is you can port this to other programs easily and introduce that kind of checking into your other programs. And then the last part, which is to me the best part of the program, because it was the most challenging for me to write, is the actual part of processing a numeric amount into words. And here we have the concept we've introduced of initializing a string array. And here we have the ones map, the tens map, and then our teens map, 10 map, and then the big powers map. Clear out the quintillion, which is a big number. Not going to write any check for a quintillion amount. I can guarantee you that. But this is a module that I've created that I can use for other things with a little bit of an adjustment. Now the public method brings in a double data type, and it's going to return back the English string with the amount. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all get the number of cents that I have in here because I'm dealing with a check. So I'm going to play using the math round function and the modulus multiplication function or division function, in which I get the cents set for the check, and then also I want to get the whole number part, so I use the math truncate function. And I'm keeping everything in the long data type to take advantage of getting as large as I can. Now I could overflow possibly, and if I get an overflow, then I'm going to have an error message return back too large a number to convert. Then I'm going to process the number. I'm going to check to see if it's 0 or negative. That's the first thing. Once again, I'm going to use the math function absolute after I get the negative values of it. And then we start processing. And here gets the fun with some math. Here we're going to loop through, and I'm using the big powers get upper bounds on that to start the process. So I start at quintillion and work backwards down to 1,000. And I then use the step of the integer in to process the range check of what group I'm working with. And this assigns the different big power names to my English words for the amount. Then finally, when I get down to under 1,000, I can drop on down and process the rest out. And then I put on the cents as the last part. And here I'm using the string format method to format my cents to make certain I have it as with all the leading digits. If there happens to be like 1 cent, it'll have 0, 1. And then I'm going to use the over 1/100ths of a dollar for the check. Then I'm going to take that whole line that I've created in lowercase and convert it to uppercase title case. And then we'll see also the part down below of the private methods used to process this. And you'll see that I'm taking advantage of the select case that we've talked about in our lessons, and also taking advantage of integer division to process things and to look things up. And here we see actually within a particular scenario here, we're going to go out if it's in the teens range, 11 to 19, it'll strip that back and find out what it is in the teens map and bring back that text amount to add to our value. So this is our little looker part of the program that actually does the process of converting the numbers to English words, and this is a nice little section here that you could modify for other purposes other than writing a check. So we have our check that works pretty nice, and I like it a lot, and encourage you to get in there and try it yourself. Once again, if you like this, of course, write one out to Joe Bolen for some great amount. Maybe give me $100. How about? I like that idea. And for a great video, how about that? And you'll go ahead and hit the print, and you'll see that it'll print out, and you write out your check just like that to Joe Bolen and send that check to me in Dover, Ohio, and I'll love to accept it. Please don't send me this particular check. Send me yours with the correct routing numbers. I'd really appreciate it. Well, we've had a little bit of fun, and I hope you enjoyed this particular check writing demo. It's very quick. I wanted to give you an idea and spark your imagination with this program. Let you see how we've taken pieces and parts of our video series to date and started to incorporate them in. I've thrown in a few little extras into this particular program. I'd like you to go out to Payspin and check on this program and learn how it works. And I think if you'll study it through, you'll be just a little bit better at your programming skills. You'll make your program a little bit more professional because you've moved your code to have different layers. You saw in the two modules I've added special functions that are things I can use in other programs, so they're reusable, and also it keeps my business logic separate from my graphical user interface logic in the coding of the form. So we can take advantage of all that, have a validation, and process that out. So take a look, let it spark your imagination, get your hands dirty in the code, and keep coming back for watching my videos. And if you like this video and you like this program, give me a little check mark or a thumbs up on this and tell others about it. Have a good day.